might shut my eyes while I'm singing it so that I'm not as embarrassed. Sitting on a map of my back garden, wondering what I am going to do. But how the hell do I get through to you? How the hell do I get through to you?
When people present to mental health services, or indeed to other services with mental health difficulties, as doctors we need to think about our approach to that from a number of different perspectives. People sometimes talk about a biopsychosocial angle, thinking about the biological. Our disciplines are rooted in science, but more importantly than that, or at least running through that, should be a recognition that the psychological and particularly the social aspects of people's care is equally important in helping them to overcome their struggles. My experience is that doctors and students sometimes struggle to understand the importance of the social element of a person's care and help, and organisations such as Sheffield Flourish help us to re-engage with that.
From my perspective, mental health cannot be reduced to a diagnosis or the academic and clinical literature around it. I think there are a lot of factors involved that affects mental health well-being, and it includes economic, social, political, religious, cultural, and even linguistic disempowerment that affects people's mental health well-being. Also, we shouldn't forget that there is an existential dimension of human suffering which should be also acknowledged and addressed beside medication. And by that I mean the sense of compassion and solidarity that people suffering from mental health difficulties need. I was involved in Sheffield Flourish as a member of steering group in 2015, and then I was invited to join the board. Sheffield Flourish to me was a kind of home, really. It was for the first time as an immigrant I felt at home with a community that shared my values and radical vision about making positive change.
Sheffield Flourish, the charity is set up according to an ethos and a set of principles, which I suppose are broadly to do with working with people who live with mental health problems to help them build lives that are more fulfilling in whatever ways they want to. So it's that fulfilling bit is defined by them. So, you know, we run projects that are to do with playing football or doing art or gardening, and we don't work at all in the space of trying to, you know, help people kind of get better, as it were. It's building the best life you can have where you are now. And we do all sorts of different activities and support lots of different activities, and also promote the activities of other organisations who are working in this way. One of the things we've been doing recently is running a course called Connected Worlds, and that's an arts-based course which is connecting people, trying to do something about the isolation which often accompanies living with a mental health problem. So kind of forming communities where people can build friendships.
I moved to Sheffield in 1991 from Portsmouth. I was working at a pizza restaurant. I decided to go back to university, and then I started having seizures, and so I was misdiagnosed with epilepsy, and then in 2010 something happened to me that triggered everything off. Even though I'd faced challenges and faced the challenging jobs that I'd done, it triggered it off again. I started having seizures again. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, severe anxiety, and dissociative disorder. It made me scared to go out with my son, who was only 9 at the time, because I was scared that if I passed out, somebody might snatch him. So I started to develop social phobia and social isolation. My son was my carer. He was the one, I only went out with him. I occasionally went out with friends, but you find that friends start to disappear when they ask you to go out and you say you can, and then you say you can't. They start to disappear, and it becomes very, very hard, and you become socially isolated.
I ended up with, as a young teenager, having depression, and I tried to commit suicide at 3 different times when I was 13, 14. Nobody knew. My family still don't know. It had to be quiet. I kept it quiet. It all had to be internal. And I went to young adulthood in the same way, had to keep it all in. Wanted many times to commit suicide again, but I had resolved, I had told myself that this is wrong. I don't deserve to die. I really don't deserve to die. I have to stay here. So I didn't try to commit suicide again for a long time. But I had to be silent, always. And when I found Sheffield Flourish and the creative writing, I started writing poetry, which I thought I was incapable of doing, but I started writing it. And the other people in the group shared their poems, and I was encouraged to share my poems, which I did. And I found my voice.
So the Connected Worlds course involves a series of activities and workshops.
And we decided to run this course for people of Sheffield, so they connect to each other, and then at the same time we explore how this connection nexus affects people's lives, their connection with themselves, the connection with their own stories, connection with the city, with mental health services, and how it empower or disempower them.
I've lived with mental health problems my adult life, throughout my adult life. I first saw a psychiatrist when I was 14, and I still live with mental health problems today, more or less on a daily basis. My experiences of using mental health services was a really difficult and unpleasant one.
The gist of my story got crumpled in the wrapper and fell into the lining of your favourite coat. Pour me a drink, love, and I'll pour one for you. Let's dissolve ourselves and relocate each other's pulses from...
The development of compassion in our workforce in general, and in medical students and doctors in particular, is an absolutely crucial element of training and workforce development. One of the things that involvement with the arts can do is to break down that barrier between the professional and the service user, or the person in distress, to encourage us to reflect on our own strategies for building our strengths and a sense of resilience in ourselves.
I mean, well, it started off as a small group, which was quite good. The first day I walked in and it was a large group, I felt like turning around and running away. It was absolutely terrifying, but I got over that. And to be able to overcome that challenge when you have been socially isolated and alone, being alone is horrible, and we need those social interactions, and sticking people on drugs is not enough. We need those social interactions. It's clinically written that we need those social interactions, that we need hugs and talking to people, and instead of just being sat in the house watching TV and getting hooked on Jeremy Kyle, which is not good for anybody, trust me. We need those social interactions. It's just, I can't express enough just being around people to be able to talk to people, to have that supportive environment. Like I said before, you don't need a support group. Support groups are fantastic, I'm not knocking them, but to have that supportive environment, it was so positive. It brought a positive energy that I never had when I was sat at home by myself.
One of the things we do on the course is draw maps, and people will often draw personal maps. So we get people to make a map that's not accurate according to measurement, but is accurate according to their feelings about a place. So it would be annotated with stories of a place. The places on the map would be the places that were significant to them.
Yes, we use different strategies of storytelling, which included poetry, creative writing, painting, drama, as alternative language that could provide different mediums of expression, and to see which one is suitable for them or helps them to articulate what perhaps was unspeakable.
So for me, something which is really important is my love of music. I enjoy singing, I enjoy playing music with others. That's terribly important to me and sustains me in my career. And I think there are many doctors who would say that art is an important element in sustaining their ability to continue to be compassionate towards in what can be sometimes a very difficult job. In the last decade, we have moved ever further away from the idea of a perhaps paternalistic view that professionals know what is best for people who are struggling with their mental health. There's been a much greater interest on trying to personalise the type of interventions that people will find helpful. And in order to do that, you need to be working alongside patients or service users to co-create that personalised care plan which is going to help them. Professionals can spend a lot of time on telling patients what is right for them, but if it's not right for the patients, it's not going to work.
It kind of seems an obvious thing to say that compassion is important in mental health, and it kind of is an obvious thing to say, but I also think it needs restating. So, you know, we've constructed a vast edifice of services to try and support people struggling with their mental health, and ultimately behind that edifice is an idea of caring for each other, you know, actually being bothered that someone is not well. And that's why we fund the NHS through our taxes, because we believe as a society we have an obligation to each other to care for each other. I think it's very easy for medical students certainly to get lost in the technicalities of medicine and get taken away from that. I mean, I trained in literature, and one of the great things about reading novels is one finds oneself inhabiting the world of another person and feeling feelings from another person's culture and experience. So I don't think it's easy, but I do think qualities such as empathy, compassion and care are vital to keep hold of. And I also think that, you know, those qualities can lead us to places that are uncomfortable, such as being angry on behalf of people who are experiencing injustice, unable to access the services they need. And that is okay. I think, you know, it's all right for us to be angry on behalf of our fellow human beings, and we should be. You know, we have an obligation to be angry and to act on that anger in ways which hopefully are constructive.